Greetings, trombonists at large. You know who I am. All right, today I want to talk a little bit about the Denis Wick 10 CS mouthpiece and the Denis Wick 10 CS mouthpiece. These mouthpieces are identical on the crown, cup, backbore, and drill. The difference between these two mouthpieces, though they are identical, they are not exactly the same. And the reason why they wouldn't be exactly the same is because they're finished by hand. So there's going to be some discrepancy, as anything a human being touches is not going to be exactly the same. But they are identical. And Denis Wick quality control being pretty decent, they're good mouthpieces. They're very similar. But the biggest difference between these two mouthpieces, of course, is that this one is a classic shank and this one is a heritage shank. Not heritage shank, heritage shape on the body of the mouthpiece. Now, as you can see, this one has the classic, of course, has the standard weighted rim and a contoured body, where the heritage has what's I've been told is a relief rim and then a weighted body down toward the shank. One of the interesting things about these mouthpieces, not only are they the same on the inside and different on the outside, but they are actually the same weight. The blank has the same weight, and I can feel that in my hands. They are not really substantially different than each other. Now, of course, this mouthpiece, the Heritage, looks similar to the Denis Wick heavy top mouthpiece, but you can still see that's not a heavy top because it's just not as massive. So what does that do when we redistribute the weight on a mouthpiece without really changing its weight of the blank? We're just relocating the weight from the top to the bottom. Well, you've seen a number of manufacturers who make mouthpieces, like the classic blank here, such as Marcinkiewicz and Jet Tone, and a couple of other manufacturers, Old Con mouthpieces, for example. But one of the things about those mouthpieces, they are also lighter than this mouthpiece. This mouthpiece blank is about the same weight as an 11C mouthpiece, which this mouthpiece very much represents. The 10CS is basically the Denis Wick version of a Bach 11C. Now, this mouthpiece is also the same weight, but it does not play like a Bach 11C. These mouthpieces, the difference between an 11C and the 10CS would be that the rim is slightly flatter, the cup is a little more V-shaped, and the hole is just a little bigger. I very much enjoyed playing this mouthpiece when I used to play on my Williams 6 and my Williams 4. But those horns are gone, and so I no longer really play on these mouthpieces. I still use this one on alto once in a while. But the reason, the difference in the weight, now oftentimes when you have a thinner rim, there are certain qualities that come with having that thinner rim, as is on this Heritage mouthpiece, the relief style rim. One, it warms up a little faster, which can be a good thing if your horn is sitting like my alto, where I don't play it for 25, 30 minutes until I pick it up and then have to wail away on a double C, but or a high C. But one of the advantages of the relief rim is that it warms up, but it also helps retain articulation a little better. When you have a weighted rim on a mouthpiece, like on the heavy top version of this mouthpiece, you still have the weighted rim on the top, and so it can be a little, not sluggish, but it has a different kind of a character to the attack. Articulation can seem a little sluggish or slow. The distribution of the weight toward the bottom adds some characteristics that I'm going to talk about as opposed to the classic weight. The classic weight mouthpiece is going to have a little richer sound. When I played a lot of lead, when I was still playing lead, I used this mouthpiece in my Williams horn because it gave me a nice, full, rich tone that I really enjoyed about this mouthpiece. But when I started playing bass trombone primarily, I found that that rich upper register was not so good in the mid and lower register, where it would get, I wouldn't say bright, it would get edgy. It would get edgy too soon. I wanted to have more volume of sound in the low register without developing too much edge to be able to balance better with my lead players. And I found that this mouthpiece answered that need. I tried doing other things like using larger mouthpieces and things like that, but I still wanted to be able to play some lead, because in a big band, especially if you're playing third, you're going to be playing some lead once in a while. And I didn't want to feel too beat up or run out of gas halfway through the tune. And since I'm really accustomed to playing on that 24 millimeter or slightly larger rim diameter, as is expressed on an 11C or the 10CS, I wanted to kind of go back to that, because it was just easier for me to double on it, because I wasn't practicing tenor as much. I was primarily a bass trombone and tuba player by this point. So I didn't want to play a lot of lead. I wanted to play more third trombone. And then once in a while, if I was playing in an orchestra and I was going to do some alto, I found that this mouthpiece also came in handy for that, because with the weight distribution toward the bottom of the mouthpiece, I felt like I got a little more stability on the low and mid-tone register of the mouthpiece in the staff to the lower part of the staff, without developing a harsh edge, which I was getting too soon on this mouthpiece. On the top end, both mouthpieces perform about the same, although I will say that the character of this mouthpiece overall isn't what I would refer as darker. I would say it's colder. It's a little harder sound. It's a little colder, harder sound. But playing loud at that volume in the higher register, they both pretty much sound the same. In fact, I made another video about this once, and I listened to the playing examples, and I really couldn't hear a difference between the two. When I'm playing them live, I can feel the difference, and in my phone, I don't think that the nuance of the character of these two mouthpieces is really all that discernible. What I can say is this mouthpiece is better for lyric playing. It's warmer sounding. I wouldn't say necessarily warmer, richer sounding. It's got more of a full sound in the mid-upper register. This mouthpiece has a colder sound in the mid-lower register, but it allows for more stability when playing at larger volumes without becoming bright or harsh. This mouthpiece can become bright and harsh in those, or edgy and harsh, I should say, not bright, edgy and harsh in the low register sooner. Now, if you want to increase your overall volume of fortissimo, neither of these mouthpieces really does that. They're both in about the same range proximity. You need more weight to be able to add more dimension to your loud fortissimo sound. Getting the Heritage version over this doesn't really do it. I find that they both reach that threshold of distorted edge at about the same point. Even though this one seems more stable in the mid-register, it still gets to that distorted, edgy sound at about the same point. It just doesn't get hard edge as soon. So where this one might start getting edgy at mezzo forte, this one kind of waits until forte before it starts getting edgy, which helps when playing in a section. I find that this mouthpiece is a better section mouthpiece because it has less personality in it. It's a colder sound. This mouthpiece, I feel, has more personality and again, a richer sound. So when I'm playing soloistically or if I'm playing jazz, I find that this mouthpiece used to work better for that. This mouthpiece kind of lacks character, and so it made it great for playing third, because you don't want to be the most knowable third trombone player on earth. You need to play as a section player you need to be a team player when you're playing third trombone in the section. So I found this mouthpiece to be highly useful for that purpose when I was playing my Williams. I didn't really care for them as much in my Bach 16, which is the horn I primarily play now. And so I don't really play these mouthpieces anymore. Except when I play alto, I still use this mouthpiece, but I don't really play alto anymore because I had an accident with my alto and it kind of got banged up and I busted my lead pipe. So I went back to the stock lead pipe for my alto, and it's still fun to play for me at home, but I really am not really certain about taking that out into public and playing it. And I haven't been asked to play it for a long time, so problem solved. So if you are wondering about the differences between these two mouthpieces, if you're going to be lyric playing lead, solo style, If you're the only person combo, if you're the only trombone player, this mouthpiece, the classic blank, works really well. If you're going to be playing more inner voice, if you're going to be that team player on second, third trombone in a big band, I think this mouthpiece is the better choice for that because of that less characteristic personality and a little more stability in the low register. And one of the things that I was told when I wanted to start playing more third trombone, I didn't want to play as much lead because I wasn't really practicing tenor. I was a bass trombone tuba doubler, and that was where my bread and butter was. That was where my money was coming from. So I didn't want to have to focus on tenor, and it made me very insecure to have to play too much lead because I'd burn out, or I just didn't have the accuracy anymore because I wasn't playing enough tenor trombone. So I needed to transition to a less characteristic sound, and I found that this mouthpiece really fit the bill better than just going to a larger mouthpiece. I wanted something that was still familiar, that I could come back to easily and ramp up quick if I was going to go out and double on something, or if I was going to just be playing third trombone for an evening with somebody's big band. And yeah, for solo, this one, stylistically, this one I feel is very flexible and malleable to what I wanted to sound like. Whereas this mouthpiece has more of, it wants to sound the way it sounds. And when I was searching for that answer, one of the things that people told me, I went and talked to Zig, he's the one who told me about the relief rims. Zig, he said, well, just add spacers to the bottom of your mouthpiece, like washers. And I tried that, and it did work. It calmed the mouthpiece down on the backbore, but it also added weight to the mouthpiece. And that added weight, it just made it made the mouthpiece feel a little cumbersome. And it has those characteristics of what adding weight does to a mouthpiece. It made it feel like there was more back pressure, because oftentimes, like with the Bach heavyweight mouthpieces, they will open up the hole in the bottom of the mouthpiece or change the contour to a more rounded, undercut backbore, because that way it can speed the air and relieve that sensation of pressure. But then you run out of air faster, and it changes the way you support on a heavier mouthpiece. And I just didn't like it. And that's when I found the same weight mouthpiece, but just with different distribution of weight. But enough similar on the inside that it didn't make switching up seem all that monumental. So I hope you found this useful, and maybe I'll see you on the bandstand. Shall we give it a try?